To Comrade Fred.
Good evening, comrades and friends. After Dexter, VJ, and the Quest have spoken, I don't think I have much to say. I have only one thing to say, and I'll say it at length. Who are we defending our sovereignty from? We are defending our sovereignty from the same people who robbed our sovereignty from us in the first place. Nobody else. In December 1884 to April, May 1885, they met in Berlin, in Germany, representatives of the key European nations of the time, including representatives of the United States, which had just gained this independence in 1776, plus representatives of the Tsar in Russia. No African was present there. They met to take away our sovereignty, to take away the sovereignty of our motherland, Africa. We were one continent, one country. They divided our country, Africa, our motherland, Africa, into Bantustans, which they started calling countries, and we have continued to call countries. In that way, they took away our sovereignty. We fought back. We won some partial victories to regain our sovereignty. Again, who were we fighting for our sovereignty? We were fighting the same people who took it away. They were brutal in their war against our sovereignty. As Comrade Vijay indicated, they killed those who tried to advance the struggle to regain African sovereignty. They killed them. They overthrew Nkrumah. They killed Patrice Lumumba. We can also say they killed Samora Machel. They killed Chris Hani. They killed Amilcar Cabral. They killed Gaddafi. They killed Nasser. They killed all who tried to advance the struggle for African sovereignty. Today they are coming back. The same people telling us they want to set up military bases, they want to set up military offices to defend our sovereignty. Really? Our sovereignty? Definitely not our sovereignty. They are advancing something else. The same interest that made them turn us into Bantustans is what they are trying to advance and defend. They are defending American interests. They are defending French interests. They are defending British interests. They have never been there, even in the fight against colonialism. They are not there in our fight against neocolonialism, because it was our fight against them. They can't fight against themselves. Since when did they commit suicide to be on our side against themselves? In this country, in South Africa, who was with us? Were they with us We know the French history here. We know the British history here. We know the German history here. We know the American history here. They were against our sovereignty. Even here, we had to fight with them before even the Berlin Conference to defend our sovereignty. Our Zulu ancestors defeated them at the Battle of Insandrwana, defending our sovereignty. The Mau Mau War was about defending our sovereignty. In Zambia, in what is Zambia today, the Bantus of Zambia today, our people, descendants of the Zulus here, who in Zambia are called the Ngonis, in 1897 to February 1898, they had to fight a war with Cecil Rhodes' army. They had to fight a war with Cecil Rhodes' army that comprised Africans and some Sikhs from India to defend their sovereignty, to defend their minerals. Today, the same descendants of the same people are telling us they are here to defend our sovereignty, to protect us from who? From who? The whole of Southern Africa is littered with mass graves. We have the Kasinga massacre. Even those who tried to free themselves from apartheid brutality to go to Zambia and wage a struggle there, they were followed there and killed by the same people, with the collaboration with the same people, with the participation of the same people who are today coming to tell us they are here to defend our sovereignty. Let's not deceive ourselves. Let's not allow ourselves to be deceived. What they are here to advance is their interest, economic interest, mainly to do with our minerals. They came here for minerals. They came here for wealth. And for that wealth, for those minerals, they were ready to kill. And indeed, they killed. They are still coming here to set up bases, to set up military offices, again for minerals. Wherever they have got mineral interests, they always take an army. They have defended their interests, they have advanced their interests with their armies. They are here again. And all the time, they find puppets to recruit from among our people. The slave hunters, many were Africans. They used to hunt their own fellow brothers and sisters for very few pieces of silver, sometimes just cloth. They have come again. They are putting puppets as presidents all over the Bantu stand they have created in Africa. Puppets funded by the same mining corporations. Anglo-American today is still creating puppets. We know Anglo-American is an offspring of the British South African Company that colonized my country, the so-called Bantus, which I call my country, Zambia. The first colonizer of Zambia was Cecil Rhodes and his company. That was the first colonizer, not the British government. From 1891, 6 years after the Berlin Conference, to 1924, Zambia, the territory called Zambia today, the Bantustan called Zambia today, was ruled by Cecil Rhodes and his company, mining company. For 33 years, we were ruled by a mining company. Later on, that company of BSA, of Cecil Rhodes, was sold to Oppenheimer to become Anglo. Today, Anglo has got a foundation, the Bantus Foundation, that is funding puppets to become presidents of our countries, to become rulers of our countries. And the African people are being made to vote for them. They are funding puppets here in South Africa. They are funding puppets in Zimbabwe, in Zambia, in Malawi, in Tanzania, in Uganda, in Kenya. And who is at the head of this Anglo-American Cooperation Foundation, the Bantus Foundation, with the chairperson? They have got another puppet, a former president of the great country, of the great Bantustan of Nigeria, Obasanjo. They are creating even foundations to establish new leaders. They want to pick them from a very early age. They take the best brains of our young people under the leadership programs, the Mandela Foundation, to train leaders under the Open Society and so on. Again, to advance their interests. But these are the same people who are coming to protect, to defend our sovereignty from who? From the Chinese? From the Russians? Is that possible? Are we threatened by the Chinese in terms of national sovereignty? Are we threatened by the Russians from in terms of national sovereignty? Who are they protecting us from? And they don't go where there are no minerals. Their focus is where there are strategic minerals. Today, their focus is on DRC, a country they have never given a peace, a Bantustan they have never given a peace. Since Leopold II set foot on that territory to take slaves, to take our ivory, to take our minerals, to take our timber, DRC has never known peace. Its sovereignty has been always and always threatened by the same people. The Belgians, the French, the Americans, and so on. Today, even the Israelis have joined. For what? Minerals. They don't care about the Congolese people. They are dying every day. With the arms the same people supply and manufacture. For how long? 500, 600 years. They have been doing the same thing to us. Are we going to let them continue to do so? It gets dark sometimes, but the morning comes. Our morning must come. Wherever there is a crucifixion, there must be a resurrection. Our resurrection must come. When you go to sleep, there's time to rise. Our time to rise has come. We have inspiration. We have Chrissy Hani. We have Jos Lovo. We have Amilcar Cabral. We have Patrice Lumumba. We have Nkrumah. We have Thomas Sankara. And many others to look up to for inspiration, for courage, for determination, and for the light to see where we are going. Thank you very much.
I'm excited about the news that I heard from Nigeria. I've heard the similar news from Rwanda. I've heard the similar news from Zimbabwe. The three presidents are beginning to speak the same language. And I wish to relay that more African leaders need to come into the party and we start that conversation. Basically, the Nigerian government has started making noise around the issues of oil, that they're not going to be exporting their oil without beneficiating it. I think Bahari has made a shot into the air, and OPEC and Shell should be having running stomachs right now as to how are they going to be dealing with Nigeria and the oil issue. And the beneficiation of raw material is becoming a key subject for Africa. Rwanda did that, and I remember also President Magufuli raised up the same principle also for Tanzania when he said all our raw materials cannot just live in their state. They need to be beneficiated. A few weeks ago, if not a few days ago, Comrade Emerson Mnangagwa has also raised the same alarm and put an embargo on the lithium story, that we're not going to be just allowing lithium to be leaving Zimbabwe. Lithium is being used for manufacturing car batteries, for solar panels and all the power station. It's becoming actually a new form of oil, a new form of fuel, because through lithium you can store energy, harvest energy and keep it in, etc. And for me, this becomes the beautiful narrative. And if Zambia can do the same with copper, and Congo can do the same with cobalt, then Apple phones and other technologies have to come to a standstill, because the processing of raw material becomes important to the creation of jobs, the stabilization of an economy, the creating of the middle class income bracket. And these for me are the issues of poverty, which we discuss, but we discuss them outside of context, when we think that the economy must just be fine. We must develop an economy. I mean, you look at how much coal and platinum is South Africa selling to China and beyond, and many of the African countries in a similar sense as to how much are we just sending out. And every time we send out these raw materials, we are sending out jobs, we are sending out our own industries. So big ups to the presidents who are beginning to think in this direction. We congratulate you for that positive direction which you have taken. We wish that all other African presidents and governments can begin to think in this direction. Please stop selling raw materials. Beneficiate those raw materials. Stop exporting. You cannot build an economy based on exporting of raw materials. You build an economy by building industries and factories and value chains around your own raw materials. Then you can influence and transform your economies into the first world economies that you want to develop. So big ups, and I thought I would just share that piece of information. It's important. Do not sell raw materials. And you local citizens, when you see countries shipping out raw materials out from your countries, you need to speak to your parliamentarians, you need to speak to your opposition people. You need, in some certain cases where abuse of raw materials is so rife, we may need even to start implementing blockades, barricades to raw material trucks, that these trucks will not leave our country with the raw materials, and put our governments under pressure to buy factories, put our governments under pressure, buy industries, buy technologies, and employ human resource skills transfer for local people, so that we can begin to create the employment that we need and improve the quality of our economies. In one sentence, we need to cut the oxygen pipe to the colonial factories and colonial industries, and allow these industries to be implemented and be developed and be in production in our own countries. And with those few words, I am excited. This is what we've been saying for the longest of time. We need to build our economy, build our own stock exchanges, where our raw materials can be dug from the ground, beneficiated, manufactured, produced, and sent out the genuine finished products of the same raw materials that we are producing. So, and you who are in politics, whether you are in mainstream politics, you are in opposition politics, it does not matter. My worry is, how do we begin to develop economies that are friendly to the people, to the environment, and creating jobs for our own local people? Here is a solution. Stop the export of raw materials. Beneficiate your raw materials. Attract back the technocians, the engineers that have left the country, to come back into the country and begin to implement and employ their skills towards the beneficiating of our own raw materials. If you are in politics, if you are in economics, if you are where, it does not matter. Focus at this one item. Just protect your raw materials jealously and make sure that before they leave the borders of your countries, leave the borders of our countries, and they destroy the vegetation and the environment in which these materials are being dug from, and the common local communities are not benefiting anything from them. So at the end of the day, what is an economy when you are leaving us in shambles with destroyed vegetation, with destroyed environments, and then you say you're building an economy of a country? The first people to benefit are the local people. So we don't want just employment, we want ownership over those factories, ownership over those mines, as partners, equal partners in the development and the value chains to improve our own economy. So yes, big ups. Send this message to your presidents, send this message to your leaders, opposition, mainstream. Send this message. Stop selling raw materials. If you want to demonstrate as young people, demonstrate in blocking off the export of raw materials, minerals, timber, cocoa, coal, platinum, gold, diamonds, anything that your country is producing. Make sure that it remains, is beneficiated, it is developed, it is manufactured, it is processed in your own countries. And by simply understanding this principle, you'll unlock the value of labor, employment, middle-class economy that we hear people talking about. With those few words, get down to business and stop the export of raw materials in your country. Beneficiate them, and you'll be able to realize the development and improvement of your own economies. I thank you.